Because this man, Todd Bowley, Simon, is certainly making his mark. He's now in there. He's the new owner. He's the new chairman. This morning, we're hearing more about the lineup of the new board because the board members have now been confirmed. I won't go through that, Simon, at any great length because very few of the names are known to us, other than Daniel Finkelstein, OBE, columnist and former executive editor of The Times.
Well, Danny's very smart.
Yeah.
Very smart. So he'll add value to them from a media point of view and from a structuring point of view.
All right. So he's in there as well. But the owner and chairman of the board is Todd Bowley, who we have yet to speak to, but we will in the fullness of time. And he's also made himself interim sporting director. He will operate in that role until the club names a full-time replacement for Marina Granitskaya, who stays on, and she will be available to Bowley during this transfer window. So, I mean, here we've got an owner, chairman, interim sporting director, who's taken on a very much hands-on approach, Simon, has he not? Because, you know, transfers will get done and he'll be in the thick of them.
Well, I think that's probably sensible. I mean, how much it actually involves, rather than appointing himself into a position where he's making sure that he's the gatekeeper. He's understanding what, when, why, how, via the various resources that are available to him, which is the incumbent management team, which will hand over to him, hand over what's going on. And he's sitting there saying, right, if I'm going to understand this business, I need to understand it. If I'm going to run this business and make sure that whoever's money, and there's a mixture of whoever's money's in this, is insulated by me being able to be an expert. Now,
it's unusual though, isn't it?
Not really. It's what people should... Well, it depends how you want to run a business. When I bought Palace, you know, obviously I installed myself as the chairman because that's what you naturally do when you buy a football club.
Yeah.
And then you avail yourself of the knowledge. Because if you're going to be in a business and it's a business that you're not overly familiar with, you might be familiar with sports and you might think you understand how the commercial aspects of this business will hold together. Then you'll get in the door and you'll see there's a marketing business, a sales business, a player trading business, a ticketing operation. And if you're going to actually employ people to do these jobs, the best thing you can do is get some sight of what these jobs potentially look like, and then you know why you're employing people to take on the mantle of what you've had a look at for the first 6 months.
So it all makes sense to you. So certainly Chelsea beginning to go places. Romelu Lukaku, Trevor, is going places. A place that he knows well is going back to Milan, to Inter Milan. Of course, as we now know, he got his way in the end because he wanted out of Chelsea, I think. He's heading back to Inter on a season-long loan deal. How come he belly flopped so badly? I mean, did it all go back to that interview where he very much put his foot in his mouth, Trevor?
I think, listen, that was probably the tipping point, but I think the performances prior to that weren't good enough. I think he wasn't scoring enough goals. He probably wasn't playing enough, and that's down to a little bit of Thomas Tuchel with his formation and the fact that he wanted to play with different styles of players in them positions, but also down to the player. He has to take accountability for his performances, and sometimes when it's going against you and you're not getting a lot of game time, when you do get that game time, you've got to run through brick walls. You've just got to run, you've got to try, you've got to work hard, you've got to try and affect the game as much as you can. And it seemed like he was a little bit soft for me. His personality, his character, he didn't look like he was desperate enough to make it at Chelsea. And in the end, he kind of just... It kind of just ended without anyone really missing him at Chelsea. I think if you ask most Chelsea fans, they'll say, "Well, yeah, good riddance." But especially after the interview that he did with I'm not sure it was Sky Italia.
I think you're spot on, Trevor. And even after that, the apology that he put out was somewhat hollow. This was it.
The interview was about saying goodbye to the Inter fans. It was not about trying to disrespect the fans and the football club, the owner, my teammates and the manager and his technical staff, because they did a lot of efforts to bring me back here, and I wanted to come back here. I was on a mission since I left, so I totally understand the frustrations of the fans, but now it's on me to make sure that I show my commitment at 100%. I always said I wanted to come here to be successful. That's why I signed a 5-year deal, because I think all the players that come here, they're winning, and I have a special passion for this club, and I want to achieve that also with this football club. I want to win here for many years.
Well, he's not going to get the chance now, is he, Simon? That was back in January. Now he's heading back to Milan this morning.
Well, I think there's a variety of reasons you can attribute to his lack of success at Chelsea. You can look at the loss of Ben Chilwell and Reece James as contributing factors to how the ball's delivered to him. You can look at the fact that he got himself into an injury position and couldn't get himself back in the team. You can look at the fact he himself hasn't done enough to get himself into a position. You can look at the Sky Italia interview. I don't take too much out of that interview. Some of it was forced upon him. Some of it he may well feel. He's on a 5-year contract with Chelsea. They're not selling him. and he's running that contract is costing them £19 million a year in depreciation because they bought him for 95 million quid. He depreciates at £19 million a year. So now they put him out on loan. They've received 7 million quid back, and he's still on their balance sheet. So from a financial transaction point of view, and they've got their wages off, so they've probably got Inter to pick up all the wages as well. They certainly should have done if they're going to let him go out on loan for a very small loan fee like 7 million quid. So all things being equal, Chelsea have given themselves pause to thought, pause to breathe about what he will and won't do and how they will and won't. So he goes out to Inter Milan.
Yeah.
Where's his stock right now? His stock is probably quite low because he hasn't performed that well for Chelsea and his attitude seems to have not been the greatest. Goes out for Inter Milan next year, bangs in 25, 30 goals if that's what he does. All of a sudden, Chelsea have got a resaleable commodity at the same time as keeping him on their balance sheet right now and getting 7 million quid for him. So whilst it's not ideal and whilst it follows in the line of previous Chelsea centre-forwards that possibly haven't pulled up any trees, there is a bit of commercial sense behind this. And is there a way back? Well, look, I think the die is being cast. I mean, as a player, I think it's better that Trevor answers what he thinks of him as a player than I do. But as a re-establishing of himself, unless there's a management change at Chelsea, I think that die has been cast. He had 6 months to change the attitude or the outlook, and he didn't do it.
One has to wonder, Trevor, is this a message from Boehly and Tuchel, if you like, that failure will not be tolerated? Simon mentioned previous Chelsea centre-forward signings. Now, I tell you what, Trevor, bear with me in this. I'll go through each one because this is actually quite revealing when the names come out. And tell me, success or not success, all right? Just give me your instant reaction. So Lukaku at Chelsea, success or not success?
Not success.
Timo Werner at Chelsea, success, not success?
In the balance, it's still achievable, I think.
Higuain, success or not success?
No.
Morata, success, not success?
Failure.
Olivier Giroud.
I think the fans still appreciated what he did at the football club and he did bring silverware to the club.
Success or not success?
I think it's difficult to say he wasn't successful.
Batshuayi, success or not success?
Not success.
Falcao, success,
not success.
Pato, success.
Not success.
Diego Costa.
He had some success, yeah. I remember his time in the Premier League.
So that's
success.
one out of this list. And Loic Remy, success? No. So you can put a line through about 9 of them, Simon.
You can, but you've also got to contextualise some of those, and you forgot to put Drogba in as well, who was an ultimate
Drogba
success.
Was huge, wasn't he? Yeah.
So he was a success. But if you look at Lukaku, we understand that.
I just listed the last 10.
But Werner is a success, but for different reasons than we alluded to, because obviously the manager wants to play him. Higuain was a short-term situation. That was a loan rather than a long-term deal. Morata's gone on to be successful somewhere else. Giroud was what Giroud was. He was a free transfer, cost him very little, and came in and did a job. The other kid went to Palace, Batshuayi, right? He's a decent player. Like a lot of Chelsea young players, they go out to other clubs, they develop somewhere else, like Salah's done, like Kevin De Bruyne has done. So there's a dynamic behind that. Falcao was coming towards the end of his career, wasn't particularly successful at Manchester United. No, it's not. But you're not framing it right.
Why am I not framing it right?
Because you're saying binary, failure or success. You're not qualifying it or nuancing it.
Something
I think there's a consistency.
Higuain was a short-term loan. So how's that
but short-term or not? Was he a success or was he not? No, he wasn't.
He was a short-term loan.
Doesn't matter.
About 8 games. What are you talking
but
about?
in those games, what did he do?
Scored a few goals.
But it all comes down to why were they all there to be successful?
I think the fact that he went back. I think if he was a big success and he did well and he pulled up trees, they would have tried to sign him. The fact that he didn't, I think that's the reason why he never stayed at Chelsea for any longer. But going back, you look at
Diego Costa was an absolute smashing success. Costa was Loic Remy did a decent job as well. So when you look at these things and say, well, actually, let's build up the narrative that each one of these was a failure. No, that's not true. The real one that stands out is Lukaku, because as Trevor said, he was there once upon a time. If he was ever going to get it right, he's Paul Pogba in a different guise. He's gone back to the football club where he doesn't feel he was given an opportunity and made it worse. Because ultimately, he's gone back there with that in mind and compounded the issue that he didn't get a chance in the first place.
Let's ask the most important people in all of this, the Chelsea fans. Lukaku heading back to Inter Milan. Are you happy about that? Is it a case of good riddance? And do Chelsea now move on? Seemingly, with this man, Todd Boehly, at the helm, they will move on. So much so that he's taken a hands-on approach and has made himself in charge of transfers on an interim basis, alongside Granit Xhaka, who's not there for very much longer.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.